Cardano has recently surpassed 1 million wallets. This is very reminiscent of what happened to Bitcoin in 2013 and what happened to Ethereum in 2017. In both cases, what happened next was insane. Get ready. Let's go. This 1 million wallets milestone may seem a little inconsequential to the ecosystem that just rolled out a blockchain project for 5 million real world users. However, the history of crypto says it might be a sign that we're about to embark on a very glorious journey. Lately, I haven't been able to shake this feeling of deja vu about Cardano. It's like I feel like I've been here before with cryptocurrencies. So I went back and took a peek at the number of wallets that were around in 2013. And granted, this is sort of a chart of all blockchain wallets, but back in those days, I mean, Bitcoin was pretty dominant. So this was going to be predominantly Bitcoin. But back in 2013, here on the chart, we see that we had about 900,000 wallets. This is in millions. So about 900,000 wallets in December 2013. And then in January 2014, we had over 1 million wallets. What's really informative, though, is what happened over the next 4 years. Look at this chart. We go from January 2014, somewhere around 1 million wallets, to January 2018, 22.65 million wallets. This is where Cardano is right now. Right now, we're right here. We're at this million wallet point. But it's not 2013 today. And 2013 was a long time ago now. This might be less of an explosion in adoption than we can see today. Obviously, everybody knows about network effects, and the network starts picking up steam even faster the bigger it gets. And there's a lot more people in the crypto space now. There's a lot more people who know what crypto is. We should look at an example, an analog that's a little closer in time. In 2017, Ethereum did the same thing that Bitcoin and the whole space had done 4 years earlier. Shocker, the 4 years matches the Plan B stock to flow model cycle. So here you can see in January 2017, we go from less than 1 million to over 1 million wallets. And this was a great time to be alive in crypto because, as you know, we went on this crazy 2017 boom cycle. And in January of 2018, we had peaked. But the crazy part, in January, we go from 1 million. We go from 1 million total distinct addresses to January 2018, 23 million total addresses. In the span of a year, we 20x in a year, right? Network effects, way more people in crypto, way more mainstream attention. It only takes a year to 20x the number of wallets. If we push that out to 4 years, and we get to January of this year, look at what we get. We're up here in the 130 million wallets. We've like 130x'd where we were over the course of 4 years. Am I saying we are certain to 20x in the next 12 months, or that we are certain to 130x in the next 4 years? No, sir, I am not. However, I am saying it is certainly a possibility. It's a possibility unless we encounter some intervening factor. And there are a bunch of usual suspects for this kind of intervening factor. Charles could be defamed, or the Cardano project could be defamed in some way. He could be found guilty of some heinous crime. Maybe he goes next door, he leaves the farm in Colorado, goes next door and axe murders everybody. He just axe murders everybody next door. this could certainly affect us. It might be an intervening factor. It's pretty hard to sell the genius of an axe murderer. This could be an intervening factor. However, I don't think it's very likely that we find Charles engaging in some kind of heinous, bloody crime. I think he would rather die. He would rather die than be found to have done something that might damage Cardano. I think it's highly unlikely we find Charles doing something personally that defames the entire project enough to intervene in this possible glorious future we might encounter. So I think heinous crime is probably off the table. The next thing, Charles could just die. Maybe Charles is driving around in the Lambo, and it's like the scene in that Dr. Dre music video where he's driving the Ferrari on the beautiful road in coastal California, and he like flips the Ferrari, and next thing we know, he is being revived by Eminem, I think, and we could see this. This could happen with Charles. He could get a little wild in the Lambo, flip the Lambo, right? I think we've now reached a point where Cardano is decentralized enough, it probably wouldn't matter. It probably wouldn't matter. Charles could die in the Lambo in a fiery Dr. Dre music video style explosive crash in the Lambo, and we'd probably be okay because the SPOs would keep making blocks. IOHK would finish its work, over the next 90 days. I think we'd probably be just fine. So I think Cardano is decentralized enough. Even Charles dying is probably not an intervening factor. You could say, what if a civil war erupts inside Cardano? What if a bunch of the developers are evil masterminds? They know now is the most vulnerable point. They could leave, start their own company, and it would destroy Cardano. So just like Cardano being decentralized enough already, I think IOHK as an organization has been professionalized enough. Charles explained that we don't have to worry about deadlines as much anymore because over the last several years, they've professionalized IOHK to the point that they might be weeks late on their deadlines, but they probably won't be months late. I think likewise, they've probably professionalized the organization enough that, they've got some geniuses over there, but even if a contingent of IOHK walked out and they started, instead of input output global, input output galactic, if they started to input output galactic, even that probably wouldn't stop Cardano at this point. For those reasons, schism is off the table. Civil war off the table. I don't think we have to worry about it. What if a competitor makes a gigantic partnership? What if Algorand or Avalanche, makes a partnership with, I don't even know who would be big enough, right? In the private world. On the private side, I don't know if they would have to make a partnership with like every car manufacturer except for Tesla. If every car was going to have carbon banking built into the car and it was all going to run on Avalanche, or Algorand or something like that. I guess I guess you could see them come up, and that might be an intervening factor in the glorious future of Cardano. But I think we can eliminate this possibility as well. That's too far out. That's too far out. None of the competitor Gen 3 blockchains have something that big lurking in the shadows. Same thing for ETH 2.0. ETH 2.0 not built yet. I think any gigantic partnerships like that are too far out for all the competitor blockchains. I think we can put that one off to the side. Partnership on the private side. What about a partnership on the public side? What if a government adopts a competitor? What comes to mind for me is the fact that the Federal Reserve and the Treasury seem to be very cozy with the MIT blockchain lab, whatever they call that entity up there. This is interesting because Silvio Macaulay obviously has ties there. obviously has ties to MIT, right? He's an MIT guy. He's an MIT professor, right? So what if, the government forms a partnership with somebody like Algorand, right? I mean, I think Algorand might be the best candidate for that, given Silvio Macaulay's, history at MIT and the fact they're so cozy with the blockchain lab up there. But I think the governments are doing exactly what we expect them to do. They're moving towards central bank digital currencies. And sure, you could say that could, rely on Algorand technology or something like that. Algorand could be up in the mix with that. But I think where they're headed with CBDCs is a very centralized place that's even more centralized in our current banking system. People have been pointing out this week when talking about CBDCs that it sounds like the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, are going to be even more centralized than our current system of banks. At least there's a bunch of banks out there, acting somewhat independently. But if you've got a CBDC and the Federal Reserve is like the only node, the government is going to be kind of like the all-seeing eye that controls and sees everything. There's definitely kind of like this dystopian, dark, sinister, version of what this could become, but it's not likely to be a decentralized Gen 3 blockchain that could derail Cardano. That's not the direction they're moving in. I personally can't believe our competitor blockchains don't talk about this more often. When I have definitely spent a decent amount of time around regular working developers. And when I mention functional programming to them, and especially Haskell, the conversation takes on a different tone, right? It's like they're happy to talk about, JavaScript, C++, Java, Swift, .NET, whatever. They can talk about, imperative programming all day long. Most working programmers, most working developers, you start talking to them about functional programming and all of a sudden you're in a different world. And Haskell is like the most notorious, right? It's like their desire to become involved with functional programming in Haskell, if they're not already into it, is very low. That's a different universe to them. And I'm always shocked that our competitors don't say, yo, Plutus is Haskell. How in the world do you think you guys are going to get a bunch of developers to build things in Haskell? And I think this was one of the biggest, most effective criticisms of Cardano that was not really voiced very much and still isn't. But if they were going to talk about this, they should have talked about it before, because as soon as the Plutus Pioneers program launched, I think all of those concerns have been extinguished. So Charles summed it up by the numbers in his most recent AMA, I think. He said they were expecting 200 or 300 people to apply for the Plutus Pioneers program. They got something like 1,500 applications. And it seems to them that about 500 or 600 people are taking it very seriously. So, I mean, smart contracts haven't even launched yet on Cardano. And 500 or 600 people signed up for a 10-week intensive course. And they were warned by Charles that Lars is a German mathematician and the course is probably going to be hard. And 1,500 people still signed up, and 500 or 600 of them, I guess, are doing a good job. This is amazing. Can you imagine what's going to happen when they run later iterations of the course after smart contracts are already out there, after the first projects on Cardano are already out there killing it, crushing Ethereum? How many people are going to want to sign up for the next iteration of Plutus Pioneers? I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit like Catalyst. In the beginning, there weren't very many projects. In funds 1, 2, and 3 was a little bit bigger. 3 was a little bit bigger. But in funds 1 and 2, there weren't that many projects. And then it started getting bigger, and now it's gigantic. Now Catalyst is gigantic. Granted, the money went up, but I think the money is also going up in the ecosystem as a whole. It's going to be a lot more economically attractive for people to want to be in Plutus Pioneers, because there are probably going to be some projects that are going to come out of the current developers in the program right now. They're probably going to create some projects that a lot of people are going to be very envious of, and a lot of people are going to want to jump into this program. And then you've got the entire universe of Haskell programmers out there. We're not even addressing here what they're going to do for the ocean in the pond, the island, and the ocean metaphor. The ocean being all of the rest of the non-crypto developers out there, all the imperative programming languages, all the languages. So you get this whole world of Haskell programmers who can jump right into Cardano and start creating projects. And then you've got IOHK figuring out ways to make it easy for people to create smart contracts in JavaScript, Solidity, which is the pond in the island, the pond, the ocean metaphor. The island is Cardano. The pond is Ethereum and its programming language Solidity. It's going to be really easy for those Solidity developers to come right over and make smart contracts in Solidity. So I don't think you can even criticize Cardano anymore on its choice of a functional programming language. And with that, I kind of run out of intervening factors. Sure, something could happen. Maybe we're not about to do what Ethereum did in 2017 or what Bitcoin did in the 4 years after 2013. But man, it's sure looking good. And I'm glad we're all part of this ecosystem and not the competitors right now. Talk to you tomorrow.